Hey, this is Ellen on the beautiful island of St. Bart's. It is Saturday morning, and you are listening to Light Talk.
Well, this is Stan in swampy Gainesville, Florida, and today we are talking about financial security, what technology should I invest in, transitioning from grad school to the profession, how to get involved in lighting manufacturing, and Light Talk Detox, all on Light Talk.
And this is David coming to you from the beautiful Belmont Shore neighborhood of Long Beach, California. If you don't already know, you are listening to Light Talk, and we are the Lumen Brothers.
And sister.
That's right, Ellen. Welcome, everyone, to episode 389. Almost like 400.
Wow.
We're 11 from 400. What are we going to do with 400, Stan?
We're going to write the book.
Wouldn't it be great if 400 fell at LDI?
Ooh, 11 weeks. Oh, are we 11 weeks from LDR? We might be close, Ellen. You might be right.
Just about.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It is on LDI day.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
Speaking of LDI, we have been trying to discover some new swag because, let's face it, the shot glasses are tired. I mean, enough of the shot glasses. We've been doing shot glasses for 5 years. It's time for better swag. So we're coming up with some ideas.
Shake it up, Dave. Shake it up.
I think we should open it up to our listeners. If anyone has some suggestions for swag, then send it to us. Okay? Yeah. And maybe, if we can afford it, it's got to be cheap.
Yeah, but there'll be no sports cars, no lobsters, Well, maybe a lobster.
I think you should do Light Talk baseball caps.
Oh, I got it. Make light great again. Baseball caps.
Uh-huh.
Okay. MLBA. Okay, got
it. Make it bright again.
Make light bright again. Exactly.
Make light bright again.
That's funny.
Okay. So anyway, as Steve is still on vacation, what is that guy doing? He's on vacation again.
He's on the beach. I see. He's tanning his belly. It's all good.
Unbelievable. Oh, my God. Well, you've got Ellen, Stan, and me. And we have some fun things to talk about today.
We miss you, Steve. Come on home.
Yeah, we miss Steve. I think he's just doesn't want to talk about the Nudist Colony.
I think he's at a Nudist Colony. Tanning himself. He's got the copper tone. That's where he is. Come on. Let's picture that. We can all picture that.
The only thing he's wearing is a cowboy hat and boots.
There we go. That's Stevie. Yeah, that's it.
All right. So I learned something really, really important last week because we were talking about this on the show a couple of weeks ago. That my band was playing a gig at a Nudist Colony here in Southern California, and we did that gig last Saturday.
And you didn't get any diseases or anything?
No. Okay, first of all, let's set the record straight. This is a lifestyle. These are beautiful people who just want to live their lives in this way, and, they're just like everyone else. But the one thing I found out about is lighting. There's some very important considerations about stage and audience lighting when you're playing at a Nudist Colony. Okay, first of all, we were outdoor in this amphitheater, and it was a really nice little amphitheater. Beautiful stage, complete LED lighting on stage. It was great. As a matter of fact, unlike most gigs I play, there were actually 2 sound guys and 1 lighting guy. Now, I say guys because they were actual males, all right? But they weren't completely nude. Not everybody's completely nude. I'd say the majority of the people are. But there are a lot of people who just are partially nude, and that's okay, too. Nobody cares. They just do what they want. But anyway, these 3 people were terrific, and they set us up, and, we just plugged in. The sound was awesome. The lighting was absolutely awesome. And what was really important, and this is something that, Stan, I know you're going to be interested in, is that they have LED lights that light not only the stage, but also the audience. And they're very high quality. And why is that, Stan?
Skin tone.
Skin tone, that's right. They have to have a really good skin tone.
Because that's what they're showing off. It's their skin tone.
That they're showing off. That's what you see mostly, is skin. So you got to have really good skin tone, all right? That was terrific.
TM30, baby. Do you know that there's a metric for skin tone? That reminds me. Remember that story about how Light Talk began, and I was going to buy these moving lights from High End, and they shipped me the first solar theaters to my school, and I had a bunch of people because in Florida the population is pretty diverse, and I lined up about 6-7 people with a range of flesh tone to make sure everybody looked good. It matters. It matters.
So that's something I learned lighting-wise, and it was a lot of fun, and I can't wait to play there again. One thing, if you're in a band and you're going to play a Nudist Colony, make sure you get a good fee up front, because I'll tell you right now, you're not going to get any tips. Why?
They don't have any pockets.
So there's no way to get tips, so you're not getting any tips. So let's move on to some industry news. And today, we're going to talk about what Apple announced this past week, which is their new iPhone product line, their new AirPods, and their watch. And I'm not really big on Apple Watches, even though I have one. The cool thing about the new Apple Watch is that it will monitor you for sleep apnea, which is kind of cool and important. The AirPods is something that I sent to Stan because, Stan has some hearing challenges. And what's so cool about them is that not necessarily the new ones, but the Airpod Pro 2s, which have been out for about a year, are now going to have a software upgrade where it can test your hearing and then filter all the sound that's coming in into frequencies that you are maybe lacking due to hearing damage, which is really amazing. They're actually going to be clinically certified as hearing aids. That is really kind of cool.
I can't wait to talk about this. So this is a huge sore spot for me because, both my sister, both were born with a pretty severe hearing loss, and then mine came on later in life. And so I was in tears this morning watching this because most Americans might not appreciate this. So I'm going to get on a soapbox a little bit here on Light Talk. The hearing aid industry, and there's a quick history, in the early years, there was a lot of research and development to develop these things. And so it was very expensive to get them. And when we grew up, we had to get charity to get them for my family. And then over the years, that industry, let me just say gently, became corrupt. In other words, once the technology had matured and they could be mass-produced, first of all, no insurance company in the country covers hearing aids except for the United Auto Workers. And two, the cost is astronomical, and it's been astronomical for a long time. So people who have hearing loss have struggled, and so there's that piece. It's been a ripoff for a long time, and it's been a cartel. I just spent $6,000 on 2 hearing aids with artificial intelligence, similar to what the Apple thing is going to do. And the other problem is that I think is great I'll tell a quick story about my mother. The first time my mother saw somebody with AirPods in their ears, she said, look at that guy, he's got these big purple hearing aids. And I said, no, Mom, they're not hearing aids. It's a way for him to listen to music. And she said, oh, so understand this. Most people who have hearing loss, and this has been compounded by culture, are ashamed of it. No one wants to be known. There's a stigma around hearing loss, and people who speak with a nasal voice or a lisp due to their hearing loss, people assume that they're dumb because of the sound of their voice, which is an incorrect connection that people make. It's an unconscious bias. Now, one more piece. So the quality of a hearing aid, so people want to the hearing aids were designed to be invisible. You wouldn't know I'm wearing hearing aids unless you look behind my ear, and the little line that goes into my ear with a teeny tiny speaker is almost invisible to avoid the stigma of people knowing you have hearing loss. So what Apple is doing now is saying, hey, hearing loss is not a stigma. So it's a culture change, which is long coming, which I think is terrific. And the other piece is the little speakers that they put in to make them invisible. Anybody who knows anything about audio, and I think David will appreciate this, when you have a diaphragm of a speaker that's about the size of the head of a pin, you can't really get a lot of fidelity and dynamic range. So the speakers are tiny, but the speaker in an AirPod is much bigger. So when you have a bigger speaker in there, you're going to get a better sound. And the thing that I have missed in my life is the quality of music. I can stream music into these $6,000 hearing aids. It sounds terrible because the speaker's tiny. I looked at the price today for the AirPod 2 Pro, $249.
$199 at Costco.
Wow.
So my question is going to be, given that they can do technology that David described is mature, the hearing test, figuring out your loss of frequencies, boosting the frequencies, which is what hearing aids do, essentially. If it can perform, and they say for moderate to severe hearing loss, that's most people, not everybody. Some people, they're not going to help, right? But they're going to need an implant. But I'm moderate, okay? And if it works that well, it is such a game changer financially for people who can't afford them. The stigma goes away. And for me, as a selfish level, I might finally get to hear music the way I heard it before my hearing loss, which I would be thrilled. So I am just I was in tears this morning seeing that. What a great disruption.
Let's take this to the next level. Stan, theater consultant. We're going to use these for audio loop in the theater so that hearing impaired people can hear this. We're going to make it for the mass audience.
Are you saying that somebody with normal hearing would use them for an even better experience?
Well, yes, or people like my mother who needed to get that, you give in your driver's license and you get that thing, and it doesn't work, and it has feedback and all the rest of it. So if you could use your own AirPods instead, and the theater loop somehow fed it directly to your AirPods.
It should be easy. That should be easy.
Right.
And Ellen, what I do when I get the closed loop hearing thing that they have, I usually put it in one ear, and I leave it out of the other ear and use my hearing. So I combine I get the acoustic.
The problem is sometimes the people next to you are hearing the ear you're not listening to. I had that. Well, maybe they're better now, but I still think it could all go right through the AirPods.
Yeah, I agree. There's something... I think this should be easily done.
Anyway, what's really exciting about this, these are, again, the AirPods Pro 2s. This model's been out for a while. These AirPods, it really cuts out the background noise.
That's phenomenal.
Noise cancellation filters. But, the other really cool thing about the Apple Intelligence, and I don't know if it's on your phone or if it's just on your watch, but a friend of mine in Jacksonville, Florida, fell and took a very bad fall over a broken tree root in a sidewalk. And he was unconscious. And the Apple Watch kept asking him, "Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay?" And when he didn't answer, they used his geo, coordinates and called 911 and sent him an ambulance.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Unbelievable. Suppose you're in the theater and you go backstage and nobody's with you and you trip over a cable. You could be 19 years old.
That's
and
right.
If you're out, you're out, No,
they disrupted two big industries today. Yeah, they disrupted two big industries.
Let's talk about the new iPhones, which are really interesting. The iPhone 16s are coming out with iOS 18, and that's the new operating system that has all the AI in it. If you have a normal iPhone 15, not a Pro or earlier, this operating system will not work on it. It's basically making all those iPhones obsolete.
Obsolete.
If you want this amazing Apple Intelligence, they have a new button on an iPhone, right? It's on the side. It's called the camera button. And if you're walking around and you see a restaurant, you take a picture of it with that camera button, it will pull up what the restaurant name is, what the reservations are, what the reviews are. It will do all that, give you all the information. If you see a dress you like, you take a picture of it, and it will tell you where to buy it.
What I don't want is that I take a picture of you or you take a picture of me that tells you my social security number.
Or it sends it back to me at the Nudist Colony. Now, that would be on
the Nudist Colony.
Yeah. David's been taking pictures of all those people to find out who they were.
And for those people who want to produce movies, the new iPhone 16 Pro will shoot video at 4K 120 frames per second. Now that is pro level.
Go away from home movies. All these kids at NYU that are making their first indie movie, they don't need any gear anymore. They got this.
So everyone, mortgage your cats and dogs before they're stolen and eaten, and buy all this new Apple crap. Ellen has our first question of the day.
I do. And it's from Melanie in Maine, who asks, I am a lighting design student and want to get into the manufacturing side of the business. Who should I meet at LDI? Well, backing up a half a second, for lighting design students, there are two ways to go to LDI. One would be to apply for our technical internship production assistant program. And as one of our production assistants, you help produce the conference. And the bulk of our conference are manufacturer-run hands-on training programs. With this year, there's like at least 6 lighting console manufacturers, those 6 media server people, Zactrax, all kinds of companies that are doing that kind of training. So that's one way to meet a lot of people from the manufacturers. Last year, one of our diversity and design scholarship winners was so into all of this that he was actually hired by one of the manufacturers to stay and do their loadout because he was just so gung-ho to get into the business. Another way is that we have our Young Career Professionals program, which is a way to buy like a $699 conference badge for like $199.
Wow.
And it's a sort of shepherded through program for people who are between the ages of 18 and 25, and it's negotiable on either side. But we want to really help foster the next generation, foster the future. And we have a whole career day for those people. This year it's on Saturday, December 7th. And some people from some manufacturers, like Brad Schiller from Martin, will be a speaker there. And I know it's hard at LDI to just be a student and walk into a booth and try to get somebody's attention because they're really looking for the size of your checkbook. So we're going to actually have a Meet the Manufacturer and a mentoring meetup this year, which will be a way for people to meet people from manufacturers. We also have the New Technology Breakfast, where you get to see a lot of the companies, probably 20 to 25 companies on the lighting side, and then 10 or 15 in each of the other breakfasts, including digital signage and rigging and audio and staging and special effects. And you could go up to any of those people afterwards and say, hey, I'm really impressed with what you just did. I'm a student. Can I come talk to you? And at least pave the way so that when you show up in their booth later, they know who you are and not just walking in cold. So there are different ways to do that.
I think that is the best suggestion I've heard in a long time, Ellen. Those breakfasts are wonderful. First of all, the food is fantastic. You guys bring great bagels, and the coffee is awesome, right? But you get to see all the new technology that they presented right there, and take notes and see where people sit down after they speak. See, what table they sit down, and then go up to them and approach them. Like Ellen said, wonderful idea. Wonderful idea.
Yeah, and they're all there.
Now, if you don't go to LDI...
Well, some companies like ETC, they have like meetups in New York City. And I would just reach out to companies that you're interested in and say, hey, I live in, she's in Maine. It might be a little difficult. She might have to go down to Boston. She may have to go to wherever the regional headquarters is. Or, you call a Stephen Rosen, like you mentioned before, who's got offices all over the country and does entertainment lighting, architectural lighting, museum lighting, you name it. I think they've got 5 or 6 offices now for available light. And you say, hey, I'm a student, but I want to get into the manufacturing side. Who do you know that I might be able to meet? Or could I come, work in your office part-time or volunteer in your office, and you could sort of help me, get into that side. And I don't know if any of the manufacturers have internships.
They do. They do.
But because that would be a great way. I know that Fred Foster student program through ETC brings a whole bunch of kids to LDI every year. We offer them, conference badges so that they can go to the conference sessions. So there are different ways to do it.
Diane from Alaska asks, I am a young designer in school and I'm trying to buy and learn the technology tools necessary to be successful and marketable as a lighting assistant and designer. Where should I start? Well, Diane, we don't know exactly where you are at school, if you're an undergrad or grad, but it really doesn't matter because the best place to learn if you're in school is in school. There's a lot of technology you should know. I'm just going to throw out some things. First of all, you need computers, and I'm sure if you're a young person, you're already pretty much versed in computers. But you also need, obviously, programs. And the programs that we use most of the time is Vectorworks for drafting, WYSIWYG, which is also like a 3D drafting tool. We use LightWrite for paperwork. What else, Stan, that you would recommend?
Yeah, I would sort of say be a software hound.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the software is your toolbox, and and I would also suggest philosophically to be software agnostic. David mentioned several programs that are all different people have their favorites. Just pick the tool that works for the project, and I would say this, don't, and a little bit to contrast to David's point, don't just use the tools that are designed for your industry. Be a bit of an outlaw and look at tools from other industries that might serve your purposes. I mean, and you've heard me say this before. We because of my architecture work, we've discovered a program called Lumen, which is a lighting tool for architects. And now, when I left the UF, it's the scene designers and the lighting designers were doing their conceptual renderings in Lumen, which was not designed for entertainment. And entertainment tends to steal things from other industries. I mean, Vectorworks was not invented for theater. It was invented for architecture. Small firms that couldn't afford AutoCAD. So we do a lot of that. And maybe now that's changing. Ellen maybe could weigh in on that. But I think a lot of the stuff that we got came from other industries first and then were adapted for our use.
Well, Vectorworks definitely is still an industry standard. And I would say to go some of the other ways as well and learn Unreal Engine, Notch, Resolume, Midjourney, go into the AI stuff, Stable Diffusion, all the AI stuff. I mean, that's coming. It's coming. And someday you're going to be sitting next to David. So you're going to be running the show from that new Apple iPhone 16 Pro that's going to have a lighting console in it.
Yeah, that's why I'm making the point. Vectorworks was not invented for theater. It became accepted, but it was invented for something else. And then,
right.
And our industry
the same thing with Unreal. I mean, they were gaming engines, and a lot of people now use them for theater and everything else. Did you know that I was like 3 days ago when I found out that if you open your calculator vertically on your phone and then turn it horizontally, it becomes a scientific calculator?
Yes, I did know that.
I did not know that.
Pretty wild, huh?
Yeah, not that I need a scientific calculator for anything, but who knew? So someday you'll be running your show right off of this.
Well, you heard my stories about programming the lighting from my living room right down to Sarasota and tunneling in and making adjustments, remotely. Yeah. And that's like an Easter egg, Ellen. They call them Easter eggs in Tesla, right? Like little hidden things that you don't know about and you discover them.
Well, somebody did it the other day and they said, let me figure that out for you. And I'm like, wait a minute, what app is that? And they're like, you've got it.
You got it, babe.
You got it.
That's pretty cool. And Hound, your professor. If your professor is some woman or man who is not keeping up with technology, it's time for you to find another school.
Right.
And if the school's not supporting that technology, then you got to get out of there because you're going to learn more out of school than in school. You got to make yourself marketable. We talk about this all the time. Spread out to architecture, spread out to gaming, spread out to all that stuff, and learn how to program. Okay, I'm done on my soapbox. All right.
But David, does a marketable lighting assistant need to be a programmer?
No.
No.
But you're better off if you are.
Why wouldn't you be? I mean, that's the thing. Like, why wouldn't you be?
Well, on Broadway, because you can't touch the console, but it depends where you're working, right?
Oh, I see what you're saying in terms of like legal union boundaries.
Well, but there are a lot of small non-Broadway gigs that you would be hired as a programmer designer because they don't want to pay for a programmer. So, you're going to end up doing these small, local theater gigs where you're going to have to be the programmer too.
Right. So Diane has to learn programming as well as all this other software. She's got to do paperwork, magic sheets, programming.
Which brings me to my final suggestion, and that is get your butt to LDI and take some of those awesome programming classes. You're not going to find a better deal anywhere else. If you could take 2 or 3 of them during that week and learn like 2 or 3 boards or a media server, whatever. Ellen, talk a little bit about the media server video courses you have at LDI.
Well, this year we've really expanded into hands-on media server training. And we have at least 5 or 6 media servers. There's Watch Out, there's Green Hippo, there's Disguise, there's Viv, there's Hive, and it's a up and coming field. And learning to control your video workflow and be a screens producer or a video content person or a video programmer is an amazing field. And the day rate for freelancers in that end of the world is pretty good.
I'll just add one thing. Let's say you can't get to LDI, but you're in a metropolitan area. Usually if you call up a company or a manufacturer and say, hey, I need some training on this technology, they'll usually invite you down, set you up with a console, and let you do a little self-teaching.
You are listening to Light Talk with the Lumen Brothers and sister. And today, Light Talk is sponsored by
Everglow Financial, a retirement program for lighting designers, where we promise to keep your financial future bright until it burns out, faster than Smokey the prop guy after a late-night tech rehearsal. Worried about the light at the end of the tunnel? With Everglow Financial, we assure you there's a light, but we can't guarantee it won't flicker out like a poorly wired Fresnel. You'll invest with confidence, right up until you realize your savings are dimming faster than a house light after intermission. And that bright future we promised? Yeah, it's more like a follow spot operator who missed their cue. There 1 second, gone the next. Everglow Financial, because sometimes the only thing left illuminating your path is a ghost light. Call today and we'll keep the lights on until we don't.
That sounds a lot like some cryptocurrency scams. People have been trying to, their money's here today, gone tomorrow.
Lighting designers need a financial plan,
I was a millionaire yesterday, and now, I've got to sell my stocks.
And now, back to Light Talk.
Well, the sound of those crazed monkeys and ducks wreaking havoc in Stan's office tell us that once again it's time for Let's Talk About. And today's Let's Talk About is all about transitioning from grad school into the profession. So, how do you do it?
Don't do it. Stay in school. Be a 10-year kid. Stay there. Don't leave. Enjoy sucking off the teeth up in state, right? Why go out there into the big bad jungle? Keep getting left back. Stay for years, and you didn't get hired, become a professor. Don't learn anything. Never take the risk of going out on your own. Just don't do it. How's that?
All right. And Ellen has the last question of the day.
That was the answer?
I guess so. I think Stan was being humorous.
Yes, I was trying.
I know that a lot of people in grad school make contacts with people that they're going to work with for the rest of their lives. So if you've done a couple of shows for a young director or friend in school, and then they get their first off-Broadway show and they hire you to be their lighting designer, you're on your way. You've transitioned into the profession. Or you do what some people do, and they call every designer they know and say, hey, I'm going to be in New York, or I'm going to be in Miami, or I'm going to be in San Francisco, and can I come sit with you and, watch what you're doing? And then the assistant quits, and they just look at you and they go, okay, do the paperwork. You're on. You're hired. I'm not sure there's a direct path, is there?
Well, there are several paths, and you've mentioned 2 really good ones, actually. I was thinking when you were talking about, you're making connections in grad school, and your colleagues, part of your cohort, are directors that are learning how to direct, then that's a really good path.
Right.
Which goes back to my point that I've been saying for decades, is that if you're looking for a grad school, find one with a graduate directing program. And also, don't go to a school that says, well, we're only going to have 3 lighting design students there, therefore you're going to design a lot of shows. You don't want that either, which means that they're really not supporting the graduate program, which means there are going to be fewer directing students if they have a directing program. Again, I wouldn't go to a school without a graduate directing program. I have, fought for directing programs all of my career. When they want to get rid of them, I was the first one to fight for it, saying, not because I believe in it, because I do believe in it, but because of my students. It was going to hurt the students. give them one less pathway. So, Ellen, that was a really good suggestion. I'm glad you said that. The other way of getting in is obviously becoming a really good assistant, learning how to be a great assistant and call assistants. I've hired assistants from just call. I didn't know who the hell they were. I have one now who's an associate, Kelsey Aragi, and she was an assistant. The previous 2 shows she worked for me, and now she's my associate. She's one of the best assistants I ever worked with, and she's an LA assistant, and now she's first on my list. And she just called me. She just called me. She was a listener of the show. And she said, hey, I heard, that you like people coming in. I said, can I come in? Sure, come on in. And I met her, and her partner is a fantastic programmer, so we hired him too. And, it's amazing how this business works. And that's how you do it. You got to be aggressive and open up those doors. Because most people here are really nice. And they're going to, and if you're confident and you're a nice person, you're going to be hired. That's just the way it is. So that's my best advice.
Cool.
All right. So
Stan has our last question of the day.
Thomas from San Juan asks, the other day I was extremely bored and decided to find a new podcast. I was so surprised to find yours. So I listened to your first episode and I was hooked. I listened to your next episode, then the next one, then the next one, and I couldn't stop. It was hypnotic. I continued nonstop and just finished episode 51. I lost my job because I stopped going to work. Yesterday, my wife asked me what I wanted for dinner, and I said, a casserole of nonsense. My wife and kids are ready to leave me. How can I rid myself of this affliction? Oh, Thomas, the train. You're on the train. What are we going to do with you?
I think you better take a week off, binge listen to all 7 years, and then get himself a new job.
Oh, my God. First of all, you're gonna lose your family, and there's got to be a little something. I think there's one screw loose with you, Thomas. You may have to get a screwdriver and tighten up that screw. But all I can say is, it sounds like I'll use this opportunity to talk about something. You have opted in, and most people are opted out of Light Talk by default. But you, my friend, have opted in. And usually companies, when you sign up for something, they opt you into everything. They don't tell you. They probably tell you in like the 2-point font. So you now opted in consciously to Light Talk. So you're in, baby. You're in deep. And I think you're going to have to come to LDI. You're going to have to participate in the raffles. We need to see you drinking out of a Light Talk shot glass. We need to see you wearing a Light Talk T-shirt, a Light Talk hat. We want stickers on the car. I mean, if you're going to do it, you got to go all the way. And then we'll have to send you to detox.
Well, all I have to say is, Thomas, you're not alone, because we've had several listeners tell the same story, some with tragic consequences. And we've always said the same thing. What the hell's wrong with you? Don't do it. It's not worth it. I mean, you don't want to be on your deathbed saying, oh, let me see, I wasted 400 hours listening to that podcast. No.
But seriously, folks, let me say one thing from the heart, Thomas. I do think it's a beautiful thing that when we started this, there was no community like this, where people from around the world who had a passion for light could have a good time and talk about stuff and learn stuff. And so the fact that you have joined the family in such a obsessive way says a lot. That the community, I thought a couple of years ago we were going to kill it, but the community lives on. So we're glad to have you, and we will certainly provide whatever resources you need for some Light Talk therapy.
And we'll be happy to share your wife's recipe for casseroles of nonsense.
Yeah, because there are several recipes floating about. I've got an idea, because Thomas said he lost his job. Why don't we hire him for the Light Talk library? We need someone to...
A curator.
Listen, he's
the Light Talk curator.
Like Light Talk, because he knows now 51 episodes. He just needs to know another 360.
38.
Thank you.
He could do a star rating system. He could sort of we could use some help like that. Plus, episode 400 is coming up, and we're going to do Light Talk the book, so we need an editor.
Light Talk the book. Okay. Well, the rocking sounds of the Luminoids tell us that once again you've spent another morning listening to Light Talk. You can hear our show on just about every podcast site out there. YouTube, Apple Podcasts, they're all running our show. Check out our website at lighttalk.org and be sure to follow us on Facebook. Subscribe to our podcast. That way you will not miss a second of Light Talk Insanity.
No guarantee is offered regarding the accuracy of any statements or opinions made on this podcast. However,
if you decide to litigate, the Snoop Group with the new legal team of Watson, Lightner, and Beam will defend us until our retirement funds are depleted.
Light Talk is written and produced by the Lumen Brothers and Sister, coming to you from Long Beach, St. Bart's, and Gainesville.
And be sure to join us next week when we talk about more lighting shenanigans and serve you more of our casserole of nonsense if we get that recipe.
Light Talk, broadcasting questionable lumen knowledge and humor around the world.
So we will see you all next Saturday morning. Bye-bye from Light Talk.
Bye-bye.
Sayonara.